And hello students, we're here today with Microsoft Excel. We're going to be working on the tutorial for analyzing and charting financial data. This video will be on the YouTube channel, but it will not be posted into the discussion board of Blackboard. If you happen to stumble across it, you're going to have a walkthrough of the actual tutorial instead of the case study. The case study is posted underneath your discussion board comments. This is the tutorial 4, and we are analyzing and charting financial data. We have some objectives for this section. We're going to use the PMT function to calculate a loan payment. We're going to create and embed a pie chart, apply styles to a chart, add data labels to a pie chart, format a chart legend, create a clustered column chart, create a stacked column chart, create a line chart, create a combination chart, format the chart elements or the pieces inside the chart. We're going to modify the chart's data source, where the information is that's coming for the data. We're going to add Sparklines to a worksheet. We're going to format cells with the data bars, and we're going to insert a watermark. All charts have certain elements to them. Quick overview of those. We have the chart or graph is the main representation. An embedded chart is an object within a worksheet. You can see inside overview we have an embedded chart production goals. The chart area contains all the elements of a chart. The data label is the pieces. This production goal, they had 16.9%. That is a chart area with a data label. And every chart that we have has a data source to it, where this information comes from to create the chart. You cannot just create a chart by hand drawing it. We have to have physical data entered, and the data creates the chart. Okay. When you open up a chart, a pop-up menu called the Format Chart will appear on the right-hand side, as well as on the top. You will have what is called the Chart Tools and Design. We're going to start working with financial functions. Just know that financial functions means money, business functions. Excel provides a wide range of these financial functions related to loans and investments. The PMT function can be used to calculate the installment payment and payment schedule required to repay a loan. So say you're working on trying to figure out when your home will be paid off, how much you'll have to pay for a car, those types of things. We can also do future value, present value. We can calculate the interest part of a payment, we can calculate the principal part of the payment, and we can do the loan interest rate. Now, financial functions are unique in a certain way. They have a syntax all to their own. We have the FV, PMT, IPMT, PPMT, PV, and PER, and rate. These are all the functions that we are going to be using in this, and you can see the syntax to them and the description of that syntax. This is going to be a quick introduction to financial functions. We're going to do the cost of a loan to the borrower is largely based on 3 factors: principal, interest, and time. So if you take out a car loan for 5 years, your principal interest is the amount of money you have to pay for the loan. So we say have a $10,000 car. The interest is the percent that you'll have to pay on top of your principal. So we took out a loan for $10,000 to buy a car. We paid a 5% interest, and how many years or time, how much time you're going to pay over the loan. Typically 5 years for a car loan, something like that. So principal is the initial amount, interest is the compounding amount, time is just that, a period. Future value is how much something will be worth in the future, after either investments or after payments. Payments is how much you spend each month to repay a loan or mortgage within a set period of time. This is also can be a amortization schedule. You'll see this called. The IPMT, or interest payment, is how much monthly loan payment is used to pay the interest on loan. You'll see this really used in home loans. The PPMT, principal payments, how much monthly loan payment is used to repaying the principal. So every month, like a home loan, you pay a certain amount of interest and a certain amount of principal. When at the beginning of your home loan, you pay very little principal and a whole lot of interest, and as time goes on, more principal, less interest. Present value is the largest loan or mortgage you can afford given a set monthly payment. So how much you can afford to pay each month. The number of periods is how long it will take to pay off a loan with constant monthly payments. So if I take out a loan for $10,000 and I only pay $87 a month, how many months will it take me to pay off that loan? Rate is the interest rate of loan or an investment based on period constant payments. To use the PMT function, we're going to calculate the cost associated with loan. You must have the following information: the annual interest rate, the number of payments per year, the length of the loan, the amount borrowed, and when the loan payments are due. We'll hit again. Remember, it's principal, interest, and time. Everything divides into principal, interest, and time. This gives you a more specific for the PMT function, the payment function. The syntax of the PMT function is rate. It's rate, the number of months to repay the loan amount, the required. Okay, we have two required. Let me back up. We have two required arguments, or three required arguments: the interest rate, the number of months, and the loan amount. And we have some optional arguments as well that can go in there, but we're not going to get into those right now. And that's the F, fee, and the type. The PMT function calculates the loan payment. So we're going to use a monthly payment as negative to indicate an expense. An annual payment is also an expense. Remember, when we're in Excel and payments, negative values are represented by red, usually in parentheses. When we're creating a chart, charts show trends or relationships in data that are easier to see. So instead of looking at the numbers and trying to guess or just know what the process is, we can put it into a graph or chart so laymen can see it and know what's going on a lot easier. It makes a very good visual representation. Creating the chart is a several-step process. We're going to select the data, we're going to choose the chart type, we're going to move the chart to a specific location, we're going to size the chart, and we're going to format the appearance. Now, the moving, sizing, and formatting are all going to be done on that chart format menu. The selecting the data and choosing the chart type is the first big piece we're going to be working on. We're going to select the chart's data source. That's the very first thing we have to do. We have to have data to be able to create a chart. You cannot create a chart without data. A data source includes any one or more data series and a series of categorical values. A data series contains the actual values that are applied on the chart, and the category values provides descriptive labels for each data series or data value, usually located in the first column or first row of the data source. As you can see on here, our data source is going to be the wine production goals. We have our category values on the left, the types of wine, and we have the data series values on the right of the 3500, 2000, 1500. Remember, categorical values are usually words. It's what is the category, and then the data series is typically numbers. What is the data? How much of something? We're going to explore chart types and subtypes. And Excel provides 53 types of charts to organize into 10 categories. Each category includes variations of the same chart type and what are called chart subtypes. You can design your own custom chart types to meet the specific needs of reports. Excel is extremely customizable. You can always recreate, duplicate, or make completely different than anything that's ever been. It just requires a lot of effort on your part. I would suggest using the 53 already created. In this class, you will be using the 53 already created. To create the chart, we have columns, lines, pie, bar, area, X, Y, stock, surface, radar, and combo. If you need a visual representation of these, go into Google and type in column chart, line chart, pie chart. You'll see immediately what they are. It makes it very easy. A pie chart is the shape of a circle and divided into slices like a pie. Seriously, think of apple pie. If little cousin Vinny gets a small slice, he gets a small slice of pie. That would be a representation. We can insert a pie chart with the quick analysis tool. Remember, the quick analysis tool is when you highlight a range of data and then use the little drop-down menu that comes up with it. Alright, so after you have selected an adjacent range to use as a chart's data source, click the Quick Analysis tool. It gives you 4 categories of charts. The chart category lists the recommended chart types. The charts are most appropriate for the data source you have selected. To insert with a pie chart in Quick Analysis, make sure the correct range is selected. Click the Quick Analysis button on the lower right corner and select Range. Click the charts and click Pie to select the pie chart. So we've selected this data range, making sure that we have chosen our categories and our data range, and it pops up with different types of charts, pie, clustered, and then you choose and move it. Now, as with everything in Microsoft Suites, everything can be moved, resized, formatted, change colors, change fonts. You can change it to meet any requirements that you have setting. Moving and resizing charts is pretty simple. Excel charts are either placed in their own chart sheet or they can be embedded in a worksheet. Embedded just means inside of. So you can have one tab on your workbook that is your charts, or inside the worksheet with your data range you can actually have your chart as well. When you first create the chart, it is immediately embedded in the worksheet that the data source is. You will have to physically move it out of that data sheet or out of that worksheet to a different place if you want to. When you select the chart, a selection box will appear, and then you use the sizing handles. Remember, the sizing handles typically pull up on the corners and the middles. If you use a corner, you can stretch it up and maintain the aspect ratio. If you use the sides, it will squish and distort the image. Chart elements are pieces in a chart that can be moved, modified, changed, removed, or added. Every chart contains elements that can be formatted. To do this, we're going to use the Chart Elements button. The Chart Elements button is when you click on a chart, the chart element should come up, and you can change the chart title, add or delete it, change the data labels so they show up, and even give yourself a legend at the bottom. When you're choosing a chart style, you can choose one of the pre-made ones, which is just a collection of formats. Think of it as like themes, where the chart will automatically adjust to how Excel has already decided it to adjust to in the way it looks. This is not modifying your data, this is just modifying its looks. In the pie chart created, the format of the chart title, the location, the legend, the colors of the pie slices are all part of the default style. You can quickly change the appearance of charts by selecting different styles from the Chart Style Gallery. You can see the Chart Style Gallery has a little paintbrush, and there's different styles. You can do it without color. If you're printing black and white, you can add color. You can add styles of writing. The chart legend is just on the bottom or on the side, depending on where you put it, what the labels are and what the colors represent or what they go to. To change this, you're going to go to the Format Legend, the Paint, and then you're going to modify however you want. You can do a bevel, you can do a drop back shadow, you can change the font, the colors, whatever you like. Same thing with the data labels. The data labels can be inside the chart, outside the chart, they can be color coded, they can be whatever you like. Everything about a chart can be modified to your preference. You can even modify the colors of the pie slice. Say you're working with student percentages from each college. You can modify each size of color to represent the color that goes to that college. You can also perform a what-if analysis with charts. Now, what-if analysis are fantastic items. And remember that a what-if analysis just says, if this happens, what will happen to my data over here? We use this really well in Goal Seek in the previous chapter, where we did, if I was to get a small raise, what would be my savings at the end of the year? Alright, so we're going to use a what-if analysis with a chart so that we can see a visual representation, not just numbers, and how that's going to modify. A chart is always linked to its data source. So remember, if you change the data source, the chart's going to modify. Make charts a powerful tool for data exploration and water analysis. Excel uses chart animations to slow down the effects of changing data source values, making it easier to see how changing one value affects the chart. Another what-if type analysis to limit the data subset of the original values is a process called filtering. Now, filtering is a unique item in Excel where you can take a data range or data series that you're using for this chart and filter it down to whatever specifications you have set. And so we have this data range. Let's see. So we have a pie chart. We're going to do a filter over here. You can see the filter looks just like a filter as you would use in a kitchen or a car. And we're going to choose to filter this down just to a few select things. Instead of all the wines, we're going to use Chardonnay, wine, and then Grigio. Now, the chart will automatically modify just for the ones I've selected over here instead of all of them, allowing me to see a visual representation without having changed any data or modified anything too severely. Columns and bar charts are pretty similar together as they display information in the forms of big rectangles. You can see a pie chart and a column chart. If your numbers are very large and not percentages, do it in a column chart or bar chart. If you're working with percentages of 100%, do it in a pie chart. And any given one chart can actually use to modify and see several different values. To create a custom column chart, we're going to do a clustered column chart. Clustered means that it has multiple different data sets with different values. So we're going to choose our data source. We're going to select chart to create. We're going to move and resize, and we're going to change the chart's design, layout, and format by selecting one of the chart styles. All right. You should be able to stop and look at these and read through. I'm not going to go through every single slide, as some of this is pretty basic and very intuitive, and I will also be going through it in the how-to walkthrough when I do that. Chart sparklines and data bars. These are big things. Sparkline tools design contextual tabs, provide commands to format sparklines. A sparkline is a chart that is displayed within a cell. These are really cool, and these are pretty new to Windows Office Excel 2010, 2013, where you can put an entire graph, an entire representation of the data in a single cell. That is called a sparkline. So we have sparklines right here, and of course right here. A data bar is just like a sparkline, but it represents in a data instead, or a bar instead of the growing. Accessing grid lines. You're going to hear me say accessing grid lines in this class quite often. Just remember, just like in math, the x-axis goes from left to right. It's your horizontal axis. The y-axis goes from bottom to top or top to bottom. It is your vertical axis. Okay, you can also change the scale of your graph. If you're working in things of 0.00 some number, you don't want your scale of your graph to be in whole numbers. You want it to be there in the dual decimal. So we see here the scale of this is up to 1750. Looks like it's going up at a 250,000 range. If we're only working in numbers of thousands of dollars, we wouldn't want this scale. It would be too big. So we could have modified that. And that's over here in the access options. Okay, you can add grid lines if they help you. Grid lines go across, cut up and down. All right. I want to talk about this. I'm going back a slide. Changing the width of each column. If you have several sets of data, you want to make sure the columns are all set to the same width, especially on this bar graph where it represents things in a up and down environment, in a horizontal or vertical environment. If I come through here and I change the width of all the data in blue, which is total revenue, and I make it wider, it's going to look like my revenue to a layman's eyes is much higher. So make sure your width of data is representative of your actual data. A combination chart combines two types of charts within a single chart, or two types of graphs within a single chart. We can then show two sets of data as a single view. And so here we have a line chart with a bar graph as well. So we can see not only the average of things, but as the specifics of the numbers coming up. When you're creating a chart, all charts, custom combination. You can also edit the chart's data source. What their names are, how to remove, all of that is from the editing charts data source. And you're going to click the edit button on the horizontal category. To create a sparkline is a chart displayed entirely within a single cell. They're compact in size, don't include chart elements such as legends, titles, or gridlines. It's just a quick visual representation. The goal is to show as much as we can with as few words and as few space. We can create lines, columns, or win-loss sparklines. There's three types of sparklines. Line sparkline, you can see up here. The column sparkline, which shows raises and lowers, and the win-loss or positive negative sparklines. If you want to modify a sparkline as each one from a line graph, bar graph to a line, whatever you want to do, you'll have to ungroup them first. Watermarks are just images that appear in the background of your documents so that people can either see that it's confidential, that it's urgent, that it's just a draft, that it's a final copy, that it's copyrighted, whatever you're doing so that people know what it is, and you can give a little bit of information without overwhelming your document or being on top of it. So a watermark is just a very watered down color on the back of your image. We can either insert the watermark into the body, the header, or the footer. Alright guys, that is the end of the PowerPoint. Next thing I want to go over is the key terms. There are several key terms that you need to know for this section. Now, the faster you start learning these key terms, the better you'll do on the exams, your final exam, and the MOS certification. As always, if you know the vocabulary, you can at least look up how to do it. All right. So we have a 100% stacked column chart. We have the axis title, which is the title of any axis. We have the bar chart, which is a chart made up of long rectangular bars. We have category values, and category values are the names of each category inside of a chart. We have a chart, which is all visual pieces presented. We have chart animations. I mean, we can change how it works. Chart area, chart element, chart subtype, chart title, clustered column chart, combination chart, data bar, data callout, data label, data marker, data series, data source, embedded chart. The word embedded you're going to see quite often in this class, from the embedded functions, embedded syntax, embedded charts, embedded images. It just means inside something else. So an embedded chart is inside of a worksheet. Alright guys, that is your PowerPoint presentation, your key terms. This is tutorial 4, analyzing and charting financial data. The video is about 26 minutes now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finalize this video. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to just start working on the how-to work through of EX page 189 in your Microsoft Excel book. This is assignment 4, and this is the tutorial. Now, I've already downloaded my files from online. At this point in it, you should have watched enough videos to realize how to download. So I'm coming up here to my tutorial, and I know my first step is going to see what my files are. So I have my rubric. We always check the rubric. We can see that this is worth 50 points. This is for tutorial 4, case 4. I know that I will be turning in Livet Winery. I know I need to do a data sheet with my name. It's on every single one. And then I can look through here and see all the other modifications that I have to make. We're going to be working with Sparklines. We're going to be working with charts. We're going to do some gross income. All right. We're going to be changing some axis names, chart styles, all kinds of great things here. All right, for this tutorial, the first 4 chapters of this book are the things that you're probably going to be using for the most part of your day-to-day jobs, as well for those of you that are going on to college. You'll be creating a lot of charts, a lot of data, and a lot of visual representations of this information. So make sure you're following through at least for the 4 chapters. I want you to follow through with all of them, but the 4 chapters are the basis of everything else. After chapter 4, we start getting into advanced functions, advanced things. But chapter 4 will at least allow you to make a very visually stunning Excel document with whatever data you're presenting. Alright, I am on page EX189, and we've got Bob and Carol that we're working with, and they are wanting to start a winery. Alright, so we're going to be working with financial documents. It looks like this is probably something they would present to a bank for a business fund. They are going for a loan, so we're going to look for a business loan and create the financial functions that go along with that. We're going to be creating some Sparklines so that it's visually stunning for the bank to see and see what the presence is without having being overwhelmed with all the visual stuff. And in your book, page 4.1 gives you an overview, or image 4.1 gives you an overview of what it's going to look like, or at least what it should start off looking like. So I'm going to come up here to my tutorial, and I'm going to find my worksheet. I got Levitt in January, and it looks like we're going to start with Levitt. First thing, I know I'm going to have to put my name in here. And I know I'm going to have to put the date. Just do it at the very beginning so you don't have to do it ever again. On page EX192, if you have not marked this page in your book, you should. Figure 4.1 is an incredibly important figure, and it gives you the syntax and how the functions work. So make sure that you have bookmarked, highlighted figure 4.1. Okay, our first set of instructions comes from page EX193. We're going to be working with the PMT function. And just remember that the PMT function requires three main things: principal, interest, and time. Almost all loan-based functions require three things: principal, interest, and time. Principal being the main money that you initially borrowed, interest the amount that the lender gives on top of that, time how long, is it monthly, bi-monthly, over 10 years, when do you pay? So using the PMT function, we're looking for more specifically, the annual interest rate. We know annual means 12 months. The number of payments per year. Do we pay bi-monthly, monthly, every quarter? What do we do? The length of the loan in terms of number of payment periods. The amount being borrowed, and when the loan payments are due. And your function is going to look like PMT, rate, time, or rate, NPR, comma, PV, open. Look on page EX193. Reading off a formula you're just not going to understand it. So make sure you look on page EX193. I'm right in the using PMT functions. And we're at the very bottom of the page in the beige cutout. We're going to open the Levitt workbook and save the workbook as Levitt Winery. File, save as. And as always, I like to work on my desktop. And I want to open already, so name it Winery 1. In the document sheet, enter your name in cell B4 and the date in cell B5. Well, that's slightly off. Cell B3 and B4. I'm not sure why I made that mistake. We're going to go to the Overview tab. Okay, this overview is where we're going to find our basic information, a complete overview of everything else inside this book. You'll find that most of the things I'm grading on is going to be from your Overview tab, because if something is wrong here, I have to track down the formula where you made the mistake. We're going to go to cell C5 and enter $310,000. That is our initial loan amount. That's how much we borrowed initially. In cell 6, we're going to enter 8%. That's our annual interest rate. Remember, annual interest rate is over 12 months. On page 194, EX194 in cell 7, we're going to enter 12. So every month we're going to make a payment. Now remember, when you're working with interest rate, it's not 8% every month. It's 8% divided by 12 gives you how much percent you pay each month. Make that reasonable. So each month we have an 8% loan divided by 12. We're going to pay 0.66% each month. Right. In cell C8, enter the formula equals C6 divided by C7. As you can see, it's color-coded. Cell C6, my 8% divided by my payments per year, 12, gives me a 0.67% that I'm going to pay each pay period. In cell C9, this loan is for a 10-year loan. And C10, we're going to do total payments of equals 10-year loan times the number of payments per year. So we have 120 payments that we're going to make. So we borrowed 310%. Each year we're going to pay 8%. Each year we're going to make 12 payments. And for each payment we're going to have a 0.67% interest rate paid. We're going to pay this for 10 years, and we're going to pay 120 times over the course of 10 years. Now we're going to try to figure out how much we have to pay every month. Now we borrowed this 310%, so we know we're going to have to pay some principal back. We know we're going to have to pay 0.67% of $310,000 every month back. And we know a few other things, like we're going to have to pay for 10 years. So our 12 months in a year, 12 payments, so we know we have to take whatever our monthly payment is and multiply it by 12. Alright, so for our monthly payment, we're going to use a PMT function on this. So we're going to go to cell C12. We're going to click on our formulas, and we're going to type in PMT. Okay, since we're doing a PMT function, we're going to reference our rate first. Our rate is cell C8, because this is a monthly payment. Remember, this is monthly, so cell C8 represents our monthly payment. We're going to go number of payments, and then we're going to go C5 is our initial principal, and we're going to leave FV and type alone. And you can see our preview comes up down here of we're going to pay out $3,761.16 every month. You can see it's in parentheses, so it's a negative number. It comes up here, negatives red and in parentheses. Alright, so we've done our monthly payments. Our next step is to find out how much we're going to pay on annual. So in cell C13, we're going to enter the formula of C7, number of payments, and we're going to multiply that by how much our monthly payment is. So every year we're going to pay $45,133.87 for this business loan. Now, because we have referenced all the cells instead of putting numbers in or doing the calculations aside and putting them in here, we can use this overview to give us estimates. So Carol wants to figure out what happens if she takes out a smaller loan. So you can see $3,000 and $45,000 a year, but what happens if we put in $250,000? So we enter in, hit enter. You can see that everything else modifies, and she can find out how much money she's going to make. So it gives us a little bit of ability to do a what-if analysis without having to change much. And we're going to just change this back to $310,000. Okay, our next step is going to be to enter the loan repayment amount in the projected cash flow worksheet. So we're going to come over here and do projected cash flow, and now we're working in estimates. So make sure you realize that this is estimates. It does not have to be exact. So our estimate here on overview is we're going to pay about $45,000 a year. So on projected cash flow, we're coming down here and we're going to go into cell C17. And our loan payment for year one is about $45,000. Now, we're going to pay $45,000 every year until it's done. So we're just going to copy that over. I can either do it by the green box and bring it over. So you can see here on her estimates now. In fact, let me just undo this and I will redo it so I can talk while I do it. In year one, without the loan payment, about $250,000 or $205,000 in total expenses, which gave her a net income of $205,000 in the red. And she has her expenses coming up and her revenue estimates out already. So without the loan repayment, by year 10, she should be making $1,750,000. When we put the loan payment in, for the first year, $840,000. Drag it over. I'm just doing a Control-C. Okay, so you can see by filling in her loan estimates, again, this is estimate, so it doesn't have to be precise, it changed everything from her total revenue to her cash flow all across. It gives the bank a nice little overview of what she's expecting to have. Our next step is going to be creating a chart. Now I'm on to page EX198, and we're going to choose our data source for the first step, and that means we're going to go over to the overview worksheet. And our first set of data source comes down below, just scroll down, and it's going to be the wine. And we're going to do the wine, production goals, and we're going to choose them all. So that's B28 to C34. Now our category values are going to be the names of the wines. Our data values are going to be the numbers associated with those wines. So we'll have a category of Chardonnay, 3,500 data value. Category of Pinot Grigio, data value of 1,500. Now what we're going to want to do now is use the quick analysis tool. And you can see when my mouse even just gets close to it, the quick analysis tool pops up down below. So if we click on that, it gives us up an ability to choose different things from formatting, charts, totals, tables, or even those wonderful Sparklines that we spoke about earlier. Now we're wanting to do a chart, so we're going to use the quick analysis. We're going to click on the charts category, and for this data value, we're going to look at more charts. And let's see. Now once you click on more charts, it's going to give you up and show you the recommended by Excel charts first for this particular data range. And then if you don't like any of those or you want to modify it more specifically, you can even come over here to all charts. And if you hover your mouse on top of one, it's going to show you a preview of what that chart will look like with the current data. So you can see Chardonnay, Riesling, Pinot Grigio, however you want these charts to work. So we're going to go to the recommended charts and we're going to choose a pie chart. So each slide is a different size based on the value of the data series. Now just hit OK, and we have our chart embedded into the worksheet. Now you can see it's covering my data, it's on top of everything. I'm going to have to move this around, I'm going to have to modify it. I am going to have to do several things to this chart because I don't have any category views. I don't know what these pie pieces represent. I want to change lots of things about this. So we're on to page EX202, and we're going to start moving and resizing the wine production chart. Alright, the first step of moving this is we want to move it to a specific cell. In fact, we're wanting to move it to B16. Up here on B16 is where we're going to do. Now I can click on a blank spot in the area until I get my four corners, but I can drag it around and try to estimate, it's about B16. You can see it's not quite. But if I click my left mouse button, hold it down, and hold the Alt tab on my keyboard, it will make it snap into the correct place. You can see instead of it being slightly off, it's immediately snapped perfectly into that cell. And then we're going to resize this. So we're going to come down here to the bottom right hand corner and we're going to resize it until it hits D27. Again, I held my Alt tab down just to make it a little easier for me. Alright, now we're going to go into modifying the chart to show the data or the information that I am wanting to see on it, to make it a little bit more intuitive to me and easier to read. And so we're going to click on the pie chart and select it, just anywhere you want. It's going to bring me up some pop-up menus, chart elements, my chart styles, or even filter the data. To the right select chart, we're going to choose the chart elements. That is the plus symbol. And we're going to modify what we see here. We're going to deselect the chart title. We're going to go to the data labels. And let's see, I think that's about it. Alright, so if I didn't deselect, if I put my mouse on top of items, the chart will automatically modify to give me an idea what it looks like. So if I selected chart title, this is where we started, if I hover my mouse on top, it will change. Data labels, hover my mouse on top, give me a preview. We're going to modify the chart style now. So we're going to go to chart style button, and we're going to choose this chart style 12. And as with all of Microsoft Excel, if you hover on top of something, it will give you the title of it and give you a preview. And so this chart style 7, and my preview and the title or the chart on the left changed. So come down here to number 12. Once we click on it, it sets its style. Alright, then we're going to format the pie chart legend. Okay, so we're going to click back on the plus symbol. We're going to go to the pie chart legend and we're going to hit the right arrow. And we're going into the sub menu where we want it to be aligned left. And sorry, if you click that, if you see it's aligned left, but we want it aligned right. If I hover my mouse, I can see it moves around, left, bottom, right, top. I want right. You can also go to more options and see a whole different set of menus pop up on the right hand side where you can change things very uniquely. Even adding things like shadow glow, soft edges, doing fills and borders. A lot more options in that more menus. In fact, on page EX206, that's where we're going next. We're going to format the chart option. So up to the plus symbol. We're going to go to legend, and we're going to go to more options. We're going to use a fill and line button, and we're going to do a solid fill. Alright, so we got our solid fill, and then we're going to fill with a gold accent 4 lighter 60% theme color. This is going to be located in the 3rd row in the 8th column of the color palette. So we're looking for the, where to go? Gold accent 4, lighter 60%. As you can see, gold accent 4, lighter 60%. We're going to click on the border. And for the border, we're going to click the outline color button. Let's see. And we're going to choose gray 50%. Accent 3 lighter 80. That gray 25%, 25, 25, blue gray. All right. Gray 50%, accent 3, lighter 80%. There we go. At the top of the Format Legend pane, we're going to click the Effects button, which is that little hexagon, and we're going to do a shadow effect. We're going to do an offset diagonal button right. Alright, so we got presets here. We're going to do offset right. So we got offset right, and we're going to look for the offset diagonal. Top right, button right, bottom right. You can see our chart has already changed everything. Okay, so we can go ahead and close this, looks like. We've modified our categories. We put in data series. We modified all the top names. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is start modifying the pie chart data labels. Now the data labels are the numbers that are inside the pie chart. Looks like we're wanting to change them to be just outside the pie chart. So as always, select the pie chart and click on the label options. So we're going to go for the, missed my chart. We're going to go for legend options. We're going to do more options, and we're going to look for the legend options. Okay. We're going to go over here to our label options. Now to get there, I just clicked on the labels themselves. See, it's highlighted them all. I'm underneath the label options. Now we're going to click on percentages, value, we want to deselect value. Click on the outside in, and we're going to do the format pane. And we want to modify these to be a little bit more specific in showing one decimal place. To do that, we're going to click on the number down menu, and we're going to do let's see, I think she's asking for a percentage, and we're going to change it to 1 decimal. Hit your enter key, and we should be good to go. Alright, so we have changed the data labels from a single percentage or single value, the numbers like 1500, 3500, to a percentage, and we moved the percentages outside the pie chart, and we changed the decimal from a 2 decimal place to a 1 decimal place. And now we're going to change the color of the one piece of pie slice for the Cabaret Franc pie size. So we can see the Cabaret Franc, I can't say this word, Cabernet Franc pie slice is this darker blue and 16.9%. It's legend entry 5. Alright, so we're going to click on the Cabernet Franc slice, and then we're going to go to the Add Color Home button. And we're going to do this as a fill, and we're going to change the fill to Green Accent 6. Lighter 40%. Alright, notice when I chose on the pies, if I click the pies one time, it selects all of them. If I click it a second time, it selects a single slice of the pie, allowing me to change the color for that particular slice. The next thing we're going to modify is the chart area. Right now the chart area is white. So I'm going to select on it, click on the paint bucket, and I'm going to choose a solid fill, and then we're going to modify the color over to Gold Accent 4 lighter 80. Remember, when you're wanting to modify something, the easiest way to do it is to click on that specific thing or double click so that your menus appear on the right hand side. Alright, the next thing we're going to start working with is first close our format shape menu, and we're going to start doing some what if analysis with this pie chart. Now personally, when I'm working on stuff, I get nervous, so I save often. Alright, so for this what if analysis, we're going to apply a what if analysis to the pie chart in cell C29. We're going to enter $5,500. So cell C, where did it go? 29. 5,500. So we're going to try what happens when our production goal for the Chardonnay goes to 5,500 barrels or cases. You can see that the chart will automatically modify, giving me an estimate of what percentage of my overall estimate or production will be the Chardonnay. In cell C29, we're going to restore the value to 3,500. And cell C30, change the production goal for the Riesling from 2,000 to 4,000. You can see the Riesling would then become 30%. And we're going to just see and restore it back to the 2,000. And we want to change it from Riesling to white Riesling. So in cells B30 and B39, change the text to white Riesling. B30, I'm just going to double check, click, white Riesling, and B39. Come on down here. Now you can see when I change my data source, it also changes my graph. Now we're going to choose to estimate or do a filter, because I only want to look at what the production values is for certain lines in this group. So I'm going to click on my graph, and I'm going to choose my filter button. And with my filter button selected, I can choose to get rid of or add to a few different ones. I want to see what it looks like with just the Pinot Grigio, White Riesling, and Chardonnay. Hit apply. You can see it modifies. Out of these three, 50% of my production comes from the Chardonnay. Now we need to fix this graph back to being all of them. So filter, select all. Okay, our next chart we're going to be creating is the clustered, projected cash flow worksheet. We're going to create a column chart. So let's go over here to projected cash flow, and we're going to choose some non-adjacent, means not touching ranges. We're going to go B4 to L4. So let's go down here, B4 to, let's see, this is B4 to L4. And then we're going to choose B10. And so I'm going to hold my control button down and choose it. And we wanted B4 to L4 and then B10 to L10. Then we wanted B18 to L18. B18 to L18. Alright, so I used my control button and my mouse to highlight non-adjacent cells. And we're going to go into the ribbon and click the Insert tab. Now because I chose non-adjacent cells, you see the quick reference stuff is not popping up. So we're going to have to use our ribbon. So underneath the Insert tabs, we're going to go into the Charts group and choose the recommended charts. Alright, we're going to choose a clustered column chart here. And let's find it. We got clustered column already. And you can see it's a growth chart, it has bars, and it's grouping around two different types of data. So we have total revenue and total expenses. Let's hit OK. We're going to go to Chart Styles, and we're going to choose Style 14. And then our Style Gallery. The next thing we're going to do is, after we've chosen Chart 14, let's just go ahead and close that, we need to move this to the Overview tab. So with the chart selected, we're going to come over here to the Chart Tools and Design. And on the right hand side, you're going to find Move Chart. And we want to move this from where it's at, and we're going to present it into the Overview tab. So we could have created a new sheet and had its own little sheet for this chart, or we can be embedding it into another one. We're going to choose the Overview. You can see that put it right dead center of the chart, and underneath where we're at, the chart's no longer there. And we're going to move this to the F16 button. So F16, so it's going to set right next to the bar chart. Now I'm going to hit my Alt button so I can do the snap in place, and then F16. And we're going to resize it so it fits into M29. So again, Alt Tab, click my left corner. That's M28, M29. Let's just double check that. Yep. So we got it in M29. So our chart now covers ranges from F16 to M and 29. As with the last chart, we're going to modify the chart titles, we're going to modify the format of it, we're going to change some items on this chart. So we're going to revise the chart title, and we're going to call it the Projected Revenue and Expenses. So I'm just double clicking on it, and I'm going to type in. We're going to go, close that. We're going to go over here to our Home tab to change the fonts and size. And we want Calibri Light. So let's change this to Calibri Light. And we want Blue Accent 1. But we don't want to fill, we want a font color. So Blue Accent 1. So we have an estimated production chart, we have the projected revenues, stacked column chart, or well, that wasn't a stacked column chart, was it? That was a clustered column chart. The next thing we're going to do is start creating a stacked column chart. For the create our stacked column chart, we're going to go back to our projected cash flow, and we're going to do some non-adjacent cells again. We're going to choose B4 to L4. So we're back on to B4 to L4, and we're going to choose B13 to B17. So we got B13 to B17, and again, it looks like all the adjacent. We're going to click the Insert tab, back through creating this wonderful graph. We're going to choose the stacked column. So we're going to choose Insert Column Chart, and then we want a stacked column. Okay, with this chart still selected, we're going to click the Chart Styles button and then apply Style 11. And then we're going to move this over to the Overview tab. Go over here to Overview. We see it's back here. Okay, guys, I made one mistake. I chose B13 to B17, or to L17 instead of B13 to L17. So I'm going to delete this chart. I'm going to click it, hit delete. I'm coming back over to projected cash flow, and I'm going to re-choose my non-adjacent cells. So we're B4 to L4, and then we're going down here to B13 to L17. Then Insert, and we're going to choose Bar Chart, and we're going to do a stacked column. We're going to format this to be the number 11 style, and we're going to move it over to the Overview. Okay, that's much better. Sorry, even when I'm going through this, I'm going to make a few mistakes. You'll never know if I did it on purpose or to teach you something. The next step is we're going to move this to fit into the places of, let's see, F31 to M43. So Alt Tab, move our mouse down. We're looking for F31. It looks like right about there. And we want this to cover from F31 over to M43. M43. And I can double check that by seeing where I had my lines at. Okay, so we have a stack chart, we have a column chart, we have a pie chart. Now we're going to change the title, and we're going to name this the Breakdown of Business Expense. We're going to go to the Home tab and change the font of it. We'll just close that. And we're going to go Calibri Light, Accent 1 non-blue, non-bold. So get rid of the bold, and we're going to go for blue Accent 1. Okay, and as always, as you've done big things, save your workbooks. Alright, so we have our nice three pretty little charts here. We've moved charts between the two of them. Alright, our next step is coming on to page EX220, and we're going to start creating a line chart. So we're going to go into our projected cash flow again, and we're going to select some ranges here. And which could be non-adjacent, B4 to L4. So again, we want our category names to be years 1 through 10, and we're going to go B27 through L27. B27 through L27. All right, we're going to go into Insert. We're going to choose a recommended chart. And we're going to hit OK. We're going to do Style 15. And we're going to move it to the Overview. And we want this to be in range B45 to D58. B45 to D58. All right. Alt-Tab, B45 to D58. Okay, we're going to format the chart with non-bold blue accent 1 caliber light. We're going to be creating a line chart next. The steps for creating the line chart you're going to find on EX221. Before we do that, let's modify this cash flow to a line chart. So we're going to go over here to Design, and we're going to change the chart type, and I'm going to modify this over to a line chart. Okay, the next thing we're going to start doing is working with the scale of the vertical axis. So we're going to go double click on the projected revenue and expenses chart. And that by double clicking opens up our submenu here in the format chart area. In the format axis pane has options to modify the value axis. The bound section provides the minimum and maximum boundaries axis, and we want it to set from 0.00 to 2.0 EX. So in the bound section of axis options, we are going to modify here to the bound section. Actually, just click the maximum box, and we're going to delete it. And we're going to enter the current value of 175,000. Nope, 1,750,000. And you can see 1,750,000 is the top number for year 10, so everything ranges on the graph to that number. And then in the unit section, we're going to check the major box and delete and type in 250,000. So we want this to go up in intervals of 250,000. That's how we change the axis in the Format Axis menu. As we continue on this, the next thing we want to do the projected revenue and expenses to add the vertical grid lines. To add the vertical grid lines to this, we're going to be inside the Chart Elements button. And then we're going to point to the grid lines and click the sub arrow. So grid lines and right arrow. And then we are going to want to give it the primary, major, vertical grid lines. And of course you can see when I scroll over, it gives it different styles. Hit Escape key and close that down. So now we have our vertical grid lines. We've changed the name, moved it over. Everything about this chart, we've changed the axis values, changed the method in which it increases. Now on page EX224, the next step we're going to do is to format the chart columns. Specifically, we're going to be changing the gap width and the width of the columns. So we're going to be working on the project revenues and expenses chart. To make sure we select it. We're going to go to the Format pane and click the Axis Options arrow. Okay. And we're going to do series total revenue. Okay, so to get to where we're going to click on the chart. We're going to go to our chart elements. We're going to go to Axis, More Options, and then we're going to check on the Total Revenue Series, changing to Format Data Series. And from here in step 3 on page EX225, we're going to go to the Series Options, and we're going to change the gap width slider until it's 150%. So I can click and drag, or I can just add in specifically 150. Okay. Alright guys, the next thing we're going to do is the formatting the data markers. Okay, we're going to display the format the line chart data markers. We're going to find the cash flow line chart that we created a little earlier in the tutorial and select it. We're going to click on the fill line button. So we're going to double click on the line to change the format pane and format the data series. Click on the fill line button, click marker. And choose marker options. You can see I double clicked on the line itself. I'm not wanting an individual point, I want the whole line. Went to marker, and then underneath marker we're going to go to the marker options. Where are my marker options? There we go. And we're going to click currently none. We're going to choose automatic, change the fill color to white, alright, so the next thing we're going to do is click on the solid fill, come down here, choose the color white. You can see our dots are now white. Alright, we're going to escape out of that menu. And the next thing we're going to do is change the add data labels to the latest data markers in the line chart. So we're still working here in the line charts. We're going to choose the chart elements, and we're going to enter the data labels. All right, data call out. All right, next thing we're going to do is modify the data labels so that it only displays the data value. So double click on one of them. It brings up the Format Data Labels menu on the top of the right hand side. We're going to go to Category Name, and we're going to change it over to Label Options, Category Name, and click the Category Name. Okay, let's see here. There we go. So now they're labeled as just the category name. You should see just 502,000 on it. Hit escape and get out of that. Now we're on to page EX227. You can see I've made this video in about an hour and a half at this point. We're coming close to completion. We only have about 15 pages left of this walkthrough, and then you'll find the video, not even 15 pages, maybe a 10 page. So the next thing we're going to do is formatting the plot area. We're going to go to the chart. We're going to change the fill colors of the chart and plot areas. We're going to go find the projected revenue and expenses chart. Now we're going to open up the Chart Tools Format tab. Chart Tools Format. Alright, and then we are going to the Chart Elements, and we're going to change some stuff. Alright, you can see from the Chart Tools Format tab, we got Chart Elements is. Alright, so up here we're going to try to choose the whole thing. You can see I have Chart Title selected right now, top left hand. We're going to choose Chart Area. That's selecting everything inside that area. In the Shape Styles group, we're going to click the Shape Fill button. So we have Shape Styles, Shape Fill button. And then click the gold accent 4, and that is going to be 80% lighter. Then we're going to click on chart elements arrow and then click plot area. And we're going to change that to white. You can see now the background is the gold and the in-ground or inside the area is white. You can see an example of this on figure 4-27 on page EX228. The next thing, we're going to format the breakdown business expensive and column chart. Come down to here, select on it, select the chart area, and then we go for the, so we're going for up to chart, go over to format, chart area, make sure it's selected, and we're going to do it in the same gold fill as the rest of them. Then we're going to choose the plot area, and we're going to change that color to white. So just making them work the same ways. And we need to add some vertical grid lines to this chart. Now again, you can do it a couple different ways. You could also right click to open the menu, or you could have came up here with it selected and done them up here. Alright, and we want the primary and major vertical. You saw me add those. And we're going to go over to scroll down the worksheet and select the cash flow. And repeat steps 2 through 5. So again, we're going to select cash flow, go to format, choose chart area, use a fill, gold, then choose the plot area, and fill it with white. Come over to grid lines, right arrow, primary, major, vertical. The next step we're going to do is do a combination chart. This is a chart that has two things added together, two styles of chart in one. So we're going to go to projected cash flow, and we're going to choose the non-adjacent range B4 to L5. And then B23 through L23. We're going to insert a data or insert a graph here. Clicking on the recommended charts. Let's see, B4 to L5, B23 to L23. All right, insert recommended charts, all charts. And we're looking for a combo. And we're going to do a custom combination. Okay, on our custom, we're going to choose custom combination, and we're coming over to chart type arrow and clicking a line. Chart type and clicking line. Alright, so down the bottom we're going to choose cases produced and sold. There's going to be a clustered column, and net income is going to be a line. Make sure we click the secondary axis checkbox to display the values for series. And for the net income data series, click chart type arrow clustered combo. Alright, hit OK. And then format the combination chart to style 8. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is just move it over. So we should know how to do this pretty well by now. With it checked, move over, we're putting it in the overview section, hitting OK. Now you can see it came up to the top, and we want to move this into F45. So just come on down. You notice I'm just clicking and holding at this point. I'm not doing the Alt. When I get to the point where I'm ready, hold my Alt button. And make sure it snaps into place, and it's going to be F45 through M58. We're going to change the tile to sales projections. Sales projections. And we're going to format it to be non-bold blue accent 1. So home button, non-bold, blue accent 1, Calibri light. So we're matching the same as these other ones. We're going to remove the legend. And add primary vertical guidelines. We're going to change the fill color of the plot area to white. And the other one to gold. Just like the other charts. A few more edits to this chart. I go to chart elements. Excuse me. Axis titles. Then we're going to go to the axis title, select type net income descriptive title. And we're going to change this over to net income. And then over here on this other axis title, we're going to modify this one to be cases sold on our secondary axis title. With the left axis title, we're going to change it to orange accent 2 darker 25%. So come over here, orange accent 2. That's darker 25%. Okay. And on the right hand side, we're going to change it to a blue accent 1 darker 25%. And we're going to change the orientation of the right axis title to rotate text down. So I've selected it, clicked on alignment, and we're going to choose the rotate text direction, all 90%. So it's heading down now. And we're going to click on the horizontal axis title and get rid of it. Click and delete, and it should go away. Alright, we're going to modify the secondary axis scale. At this point, we're going to double click the secondary axis scale to select it and open the format pane. That's secondary axis, double click, come up here, and we're going to change our minimums to -4,000. Hit enter. Oh, I did something wrong. Alright, let's just Control Z out of that, fix it, and then do the secondary. How about that? -4,000. There we go. Now at this point, you should be looking at this image of the sales projections and seeing that I made an error. Now I did this intentionally so that you can know how to fix this. So we have the sales projections, and I can see it does not match what's in the book. So what I think I've done is I have switched my cases sold and my net income. Where my net income is a line, it should be a graph. In my case of sold is a graph and should be a line. So I'm going to choose the graph. I'm going to come up here to the chart tools. And I'm going to change chart style. And then I'm just going to modify those to fix them. Now it matches the book. That's an easy fix. Just remember, if you make this error, click on it, come up to Format or Design, and change chart style. All right, starting on page EX235, we're going to start changing and editing the chart's data source. So we're going to go over to the yearly gross income worksheet. And we're going to select B4 to C14. And we're going to go to our Insert tab. And we're going to insert a line chart using the Line Chart button. In the 2D line chart section, we're going to click the line with markers. We're looking for line with markers. There we go. All right. In the 2D line chart section, line with markers, subtype first, subtype, and second row. So let's double check that we did that correctly. I'm going to just Control Z. Control Z. Yep. I undid too much. Go back over here, yearly gross income. It's selected. Insert. Line chart button. Line with markers. Subtype the first and the subtype in the second row. So that's correct. Okay. Now we're going to edit the chart's data source. Alright, so maybe we want to leave out some of these years and make the chart a little differently. On the Chart Tools Design tab, we're going to select the Select Data. Now from here we can modify most anything from the data range to the types, what's added on there and what's not. So with the year selected, highlighted in gray on the listed legend below, click the Remove button. So we want to modify and remove the year from this chart. So I'm just going to select it and hit OK. Or hit Remove, I'm sorry. Now you can see my chart is already modified to have that gone. Our next step is to hit the Edit button on the horizontal category axis, and then we're going to choose a range of B5 to B14. And just hit OK. Now instead of numbers 1 through 10, it has the dates on it. Hit OK, and we have the dates, we have a single graph, and instead of saying year, we're good to go. Now it's time to do the fun thing, the Sparklines. These things will make your Excel documents pop, provide a tremendous amount of data without having to say any words, without all this chart titles and subtitles and categorical information. It's just a fancy little chart put into a single cell of Microsoft Excel. So we're going to go back over to our Overview tab, and we're going to go to cells D29 to D34. So your cells D29 to D34. And D29 through D34. These are where we're going to be placing the Sparklines. So each of these cells will have its each individual projection. So we're going to go up to the Insert tab and click on Sparklines. So on a ribbon in the Insert tab, we're looking for the Sparklines grouping. And here for the Sparklines, we are going to enter the column. Alright, so this is opening up the Sparklines dialog box now. And with the insertion point in the data range, we're going to click the Estimated Production Sheet tab. And we're going to choose the range from C6 to L11. So C6 to L11. Click the OK. And you can see now that each one of these is a pretty little Sparklines set to that data. Next, we're going to set the scale of these Sparklines. So we're going to reselect the range of D29 to D34. We're going to go up and on the Sparkline Tool Design tab, you can see Sparklines popped up. We're on the Design tab. And we're going to change the Axis button and click Custom Value. And Custom Value. There we go. At the very bottom. Now we're going to replace the box with 3500 and hit OK. Alright, on page EX241, we're going to ungroup and format the column Sparklines so that we can make these unique and have unique colors and different things of that nature. So we have cells D29 through D34 selected, and we're going to choose in the top corner to ungroup these guys. We're going to click on cell D30, and we're going to go into the Design tab, and we're going to change the Sparkline color, and we're going to change it to Orange Accent 2, 25% darker. Cell D31, we're going to change this one to gray 50%. That's accent 3. There we go. On D32, it's going to be gold. Gold accent 4. And D33, we're going to go for green accent 6, 60% lighter. And D34, we're going with green accent 6. We're going to select cell B35 now and deselect the Sparklines. B35. Alright, so we've customized each of our Sparklines, give them unique colors, and ungroup them so that we can modify them independently of each other. Alright, next we're going to start and do some data bars. Alright, so for this we're going to select ranges C38 through D44. C38 through D44. 43, I'm sorry, just double checking. On the Home tab and Styles group, we're going to click the Conditional Formatting. And then we're going to choose Data Bars. Underneath Data Bars, we're going to do a Gradient Fill section. We're going to blue Data Bar. And then just click on another cell that's blank to unselect those guys. Alright, so we've got a nice data bar, we have a nice Sparklines, we've got some great graphs on the right hand side. This is a very dynamic Excel sheet at this point. But we are going to modify these data bars to make them just a little bit better. So again, select C38 through D44. And we're going to go to the Home tab, Conditional Formatting, and Manage Rules. Under here, we're going to go to make sure the current selection is hit. Right there. And we're going to click the Edit Rule button. We're going to type in the row, click the maximum arrow, and click Number. Then you're going to just hit your tab box or tab key, go into the insertion point for where you want this, and we're going to type in 35. Make sure your fingers aren't fat, hit the wrong keys. It's 35, click OK. And then we're just going to hit OK and apply, I believe. Now you can see it shrink the data bars down so that the biggest one only covers about 3/4 of the width, giving plenty of room for the numbers now. So we don't have data bars going on top of our numbers. We're going to insert a watermark next, and this should be about one of the last things we do to this workbook. To insert a watermark, remember the watermark is an image or words on the back of the document that are sort of subdued that allows the reader to know quickly if this is a confidential document, if it's a draft, if it is copyrighted, whatever it needs to be. So we're going to go to the Insert tab, and we're going to choose Insert Watermark. I apologize, that is from Microsoft Word, the Insert Watermark. We're going to go to the Page Layout tab, and then we're going to click on the dialog box launcher. So we're coming on Page Setup, and you can see the little square with a right angle behind it. That's the page or the dialog box launcher for that particular subgroup. Then we're going to click on Header and Footer. We're going to do a custom header, and we're going to do a center box. We're going to insert the picture, insert a picture, and we're going to choose From File. If this will load. And we're going to look inside of our tutorial folder that I saved on my desktop such a long period ago. And let's see, scroll down to tutorial. There we go. And we're going to choose the image of draft PNG. Then we're going to come over here to Format Picture. And we're going to modify this so that it's a little bit washed out. Okay. Click on Picture, Color, Washout. What you don't want is for your watermark to seem like a header. We want it to be just sort of subdued so that you don't see it at first glance. You have to actually look at it, and it doesn't take away from your actual data. Hit OK. And then we can do a print preview to see if this actually worked. Now, File, Print, and you can see draft came straight up on the top. So that's what we wanted. Alright, last things is make sure you save this document to your desktop in your folder, zip it back together, and send it to me. Well, alright guys, that took me almost about an hour and a half to get through both the PowerPoint presentation, the key terms, and to walk you through this entire tutorial. Now, you should be able to go through here and do it yourself. I'm expecting about 45 minutes to an hour for this assignment. If you get stuck, watch the video. You're up to 3 hours in 1 week for this assignment. If you have any questions, email me, call me, send me a discussion board. I hope to hear from you. Don't get stuck. Don't get stressed. Just ask. All right, guys.